We are live. We are live. Hey, y'all.
What up? What up? What
Good
up?
evening.
What's happening, folks?
Welcome back. This is a special live event from all of us. This ain't Friday. If y'all paying attention, it's still a great day. It's New
Yeah.
Year's Eve here in the capital region, across the world. And we're going to talk a little bit about justice for Robert Brooks. We had a rally in front of the governor's mansion yesterday. Had many people come out and speak their minds, their thoughts. A lot of anger, a lot of frustration was heard. And once again, we had a space created for that energy to kind of be invested in. Mainstream media came out, captured some of that, and we were in tandem with groups in New York City, groups in Rochester, all calling for justice for Robert Brooks, but not just Robert Brooks, so many others. I'm joined here with Jamaica Miles, executive director, co-founder of All of Us, and my brother Tamar Cancer, director of special projects, CCA, who were there and held it down. So welcome everybody, Jamaica. What's going on?
I'm still riding off the energy from yesterday. I mean, it was powerful. The number of folks that were there, the number of voices that were heard. Much appreciation to Center for Community Alternatives and partnering with us and showing up the way that you do. I mean, Tamar, I'm not surprised, but still appreciate the fact that we were able to collaborate and do this work together.
Yeah, big shout out to Garrett as well as part of CCA. I'm not sure of his title. Derek Hamilton, down in New York City, friends and family of the wrongly convicted, and so many other groups, man, that showed up. It was really a special day, I think, for the opportunity to make that happen. But Tamar, man, how's it going, brother?
I'm man, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Um, I'm glad that we was able to put that together yesterday on a quick turnaround.
Hmm.
I think it was a lot of raw emotion on display, justifiably so, and I'm ready to go. 2025, I'm ready to go, ready to turn it up.
We already have someone in the chat that is talking about how this resonated with so many people. We I don't know how much it's even. I don't think it's possible for us to express in any amount of time the number of people that were there who have never had their voices heard, who
Right,
we understand, right? The moms, the number of mothers
right,
who were there, who their children, their sons, either previously or currently incarcerated, and they know the story. They've
right,
carried that weight, they've carried that pain, and for some of them, it was the first opportunity for them to share and talk about that pain and lift up their children's names.
right.
And I'm glad we were able to give them that space. And if anyone was confused, that was part of the purpose. We need to recognize that this isn't just happening to a couple people. This is happening all the time.
Right.
And I just want to orient some folks. I mean, I can't imagine you don't know who Robert Brooks is at this time. Robert Brooks, 43-year-old man. He was imprisoned at Marcy Correctional Facility, and he was beat to death on December 9th. Actually pronounced dead on the morning of December 10th. There have been 14 correctional officers, including one nurse, that are the targets of investigations from the FBI and the AG's office, Attorney General's office. Governor Hochul has directed the commissioner of DOCS to immediately start the process of firing all of those employees of DOCS. And, we're here saying that that's not enough. And the mothers that Jamaica's speaking about are the mothers that of other sons and other daughters.
I meet I
Who
meet Nixon from Albany 2 months
um,
ago in Fishkill.
Yeah, Amik Nixon 2 months ago in Fishkill lost his life as well, and his family and his moms and them showed up at the rally to make sure that his name was known and that his story was told, and that change and action happened for him, because up till that point, their voices have been falling on deaf ears, right?
I found it interesting that Senator Salazar had a representative come, Mark Mishler spoke, and they were calling for Marcy to be closed. They said Marcy needs to be closed in the wake of this incident. And I don't know if you heard me, Sean, but when he said that, I kind of turned and said, well, I guess we're closing all the prisons then.
Yeah.
This doesn't just happen in Marcy, but I definitely appreciate the suggestion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what was being said, right? Like, and just bigging up some of the organizations, Saratoga BLM, We Are Revolutionary, HCHC, Citizen Action, and others that were there. The families that what I think spoke more loudly than anybody else, at this event, because there was some conversation about too many voices and not everyone be able to speak, or whatever the case may be. And me and Jamaica, and you, me and you, Tamar, as well, talked about like what happened needed to happen the way it happened. Right. People that have been for years, for months, or whatever, trying to get some traction, to get something to happen behind some brutality that happened to their family. You know what I mean? They hadn't had that chance.
Right.
And I think that frustration is what we witnessed. That pain, of being ignored is what we witnessed, at the rally. And like I said, man, like in the moment, I mean, it was a lot, bro. Like Jamaica, it was a lot. You've seen how it went down. It was just so much. The tears.
I'm still processing it.
Still processing today. That's why we felt it was important, like, to get on and like have this discussion, with each other, and just let some people know that we witnessed that, we saw that, we hear you.
Yes.
Right. We hear you. And we want more people to hear you, so that we can get this, because it's not Robert Brooks, like you said, Jamaica. He stands as a figurehead and martyr in place of so many others.
Yeah, right? And we've gotten phone calls and text messages and emails from all types, and comments on our social media pages from individuals talking about how it resonated with them, how they appreciated, that so many people did get heard, right?
Right.
Because too often it is, you get one or two people up there speaking. And I mentioned this yesterday, it would be impossible for us to have every single person heard who had ever been impacted by the violence of our carceral system. That there were so many people just in attendance, but we offered, if anyone wanted to speak, they absolutely had that space to do it. And we kept the live rolling. We didn't stop the live.
Right.
So it's there in perpetuity, so that their voices can be heard. And something we know from experience is that the media may be there for a minute, but they go back and they watch our videos. They go back and look and see who else said something. Oh, did I miss something? And also, Kathy Hochul's office and the state itself was on notice before we even got there.
Yeah.
We didn't call them and ask them for permission. We didn't notify the police directly and say that we were coming. But when we showed up, the street was locked down. The sidewalks were blocked.
Yeah.
Why? Because they knew we were coming, because they were already watching, they were already paying attention, because that was something else people said was, oh, Kathy Hochul wasn't even in the building. She doesn't know you were there. Oh, she knows we were there.
Yeah.
She knew. She knew.
I mean, I think one of the things that I would like the message that I would like to put out there is that for the frustrated people, I spoke to a woman today in Syracuse who her friend's son was killed, in one of the upstate prisons years back, right? And she said when she seen a video, it just like tore the scar off, because to this day she still has no answers, right? And what I want to tell the people, the folks that are feeling like that, the folks with those type of situations, is that now is the time for you. Listen, when I say murder has no statute of limitations, now is the time for you to gather your stories, your documents, and press the Attorney General. I think that there needs to be widespread investigations into all of these mysterious deaths that happened in docks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
It needs to be a widespread investigation. So justice impacted people. We already know what time it is. We know what time it is. I still to this moment have not fully watched that video. I don't need to watch the video. But I'll say this much. What I did see, and mind you, they didn't even use the spray and the sticks and all of that. So this is like normal activity in that place. This is normal. It's so normal that when we get out, even amongst ourselves, we don't even mention it. We just keep it pushing.
Yeah.
That's how normal it is.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to watch the video. But when I heard the mothers, I meet Nixon, the other woman who was just totally frustrated because years ago this prison system broke her, right? Broke her. And she's yelling out in pure anguish, pure frustration. So I really, Robert Brooks, it was tragic, and but it showed the people on the outside what goes on, and this is normal behavior. And like I said, take that energy, take that anger and frustration, and harness it. Let's compile a list of people who folks mysteriously died in prison, and let's push that up. Let's start push it up on the Attorney General.
And
look into this stuff.
People, there's a petition out right now, and we dropped the bit.ly Justice for Robert Brooks. You can sign the petition that's going to be going to the governor's office, and the changes we're calling for. But on that petition, it's not just the language of these are the changes we want. Individuals are able to write their own comments. They can write the names of the family members that they are calling for justice for, that they are concerned about, that they have witnessed the brutality against them, or individuals themselves that are survivors of our carceral system. Because I think sometimes we don't recognize the importance of language. And I said this to Sean yesterday, that the number of times, and I understand it's, people, language that becomes common use, that people kept saying, and the news does this, the inmates. And I'm like, the incarcerated people, the human beings that were abused, and those who come home that survived the travesty of our state, and the humanity that we are calling for. And so for folks that signed the petition, they can actually add those names. They can add their stories. They can add that information directly into that petition that says, hey, I want you to do these things, and I want you to recognize these people. And we're collecting that information. So the bit.ly that you see on the screen right now, Justice for Robert Brooks, you signed that petition, but it is also an opportunity for you to add those names, to lift them up, because we want to know. We truly want to know.
And we need to know. I really, I love that idea about this efforts to reach the AG with all these different stories, Tamar, to potentially have an investigation, about all this different instances of brutality that have happened over many years in every single state prison. There's a story to be told. There's a lawsuit that was filed. There was grievances, etc., that have happened. And many of them have been ignored. Some have not, but many of them have. I would go so far as to say the majority of them have.
I would love to see the invest. And that video contained a whole chain of command, right?
Yeah.
That video contained a whole chain of command.
Yeah.
Right. So the grievance process and all that is a joke. It's a purity joke. And like I said, it's unfortunate what happened to the brother Brooks, but I'm glad that video came out, because all of those, pacifying, the grievance system, let's make it, the chain of command was in that video.
Yeah.
The
What are
normal
you talking about? What are you talking about? The chain of command was in that video. So who am I supposed to write a grievance to? For what?
Mhm.
I guarantee you that dude, I forget the coward name. I guarantee you, if you look up how many grievances was written up on that CO, I guarantee you. But I would
Well,
love
on
to
that
see. I would love to see what type of investigation they do.
on that point, several of the ones that were a part of this, they had lawsuits already in for brutality,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
For beating up a guy for smoking a cigarette, beating
yeah,
up another guy while he was cuffed for some other nonsense. So they had
yeah.
some stuff already filed against them, but yet and still they had the opportunity to keep their jobs, keep those paychecks, and still be in close contact with basically is a vulnerable population.
Right.
Because what happened, you can they act as if the story is about all these people are just as violent. Like I just saw somebody put something in some comments on our page that listed his charges, right? That was like, well, as if you're saying because he was in prison and because he had those charges,
That
he
justifies it.
deserved to die. It's
Yeah,
the
that
same thing with
justifies
George
it.
Floyd.
Yeah, that justifies
People
it.
say, well, look at his history. So you're saying, what you're saying when you're saying is that the person deserved to die, that it was okay to kill them the way they killed them. And
right.
I think that's one that says a lot about the person that put that comment and on our page. And two, although this is maybe a sentiment of a lot of people, I call bullshit, with this idea of you talking about standing up for justice and what's right. Like, how can you stand for those things, but then say it's okay to kill someone if you don't like them or you don't like their past? And despite the hell with what the judge sends them to, it's okay to be a vigilante. And in our country, we know who's okay, who's all right to have vigilantism, and
Yep.
who's not. It's the same way they justified all the lynching, which is what this was.
Yes.
And I know this person wasn't perfect and he had issues and he was charging with the prison, but this was a lynching of someone who they decided that it was okay to do this to on their own merit. We can take the law into our own hands and we can do this to them. So like this is what we're up against, and it ain't just about the culture of prison. I was saying this yesterday. I was saying this about the culture of prison. It ain't just the culture of prison; it's the culture of our society.
Society.
Right?
Who's
This is
suspendable?
long standing. Sorry.
So what if
Brad.
he would have had what kind of charge would have disqualify him from being justifiably killed? That's what I want to know. What?
Let's use the law, but let's use the law, because in New York State there is no death penalty, right? In New York State, there's not.
The death penalty has been ruled unconstitutional on the New York State's constitution. It's still on the books though.
Right. But if we're going to if we're going to say the law, if people who like to use that excuse, oh, well, legally. So number one, we've already identified that the individuals who murdered him have violated the law, and by the law standards, they've not been charged.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, there are individuals who we've talked about this. We've been talking about this for years, all three of us, that the elderly in prison die in prison. They were sentenced to death. The lack of health care and people dying because of medical needs that could have been provided for them, they were then sentenced to death.
Mm-hmm.
So there's both the violent and the passive ways that our carceral state sentences people to death in New York State all of the time. And the young man that spoke about someone who no one's talking about, that he was pulled to the side and choked and killed, and his family didn't know he had died.
Right.
It is the system, it is the structure, it is the culture. For those who are considered other, those who are considered less than, because white supremacy tells us there is a pecking order, there is a hierarchy of who is allowed to live and have what status, and then those who have the power to use it against them. And it is the most egregious, I believe, in our jails and prisons.
And I would say, be careful of what you put out there, because it sounds slick until your own people are in that situation, are incarcerated, and who determines what charges, justifiably, they can justifiably be killed because they got a certain charge. It's a slippery slope because it may start out with a child pedophile. Yeah, he got killed. He molested a child or something. But things like that tend to begin to get spreaded around. It started like that. The next thing you know is just, period. He's in prison, period. He doesn't have the right to live, period. Doesn't matter if it's a drug charge or anything, period. I don't like him.
And once it's okay for one, it's okay for all.
Exactly.
Right. Once we start saying it's okay for this one,
right?
To say the next person, well, it should be okay for this one,
right?
Okay, for that one, etc.
And I'm not justifying anybody. I mean, it's already given. A person is in prison for doing what they did,
which is supposed to be the punishment by itself.
Right. And the person is already in prison for what they did. So
that is torture enough by itself. And people who have conversations, because I've had folks come at me and say, well, they're in prison, they shouldn't be getting good food and health care. I'm like, are you not understanding that the punishment is just that you are taken from your community and put in a cage? That's bad. That's bad. It's not, there's nothing fun about that. There's no, when people make jokes and say, oh, they get 3 square meals a day because I sit in spaces and listen to y'all talk and I pay attention. And I'm like, folks really believe what they're told about the dehumanization of individuals who have been convicted of a crime. And I say convicted of a crime because one, there's just a longer story, right? And so this idea that we can throw away individuals and treat them less than because they have been put inside a cage by our unjust system.
I mean, it's a part of the stories that we tell ourselves, without getting too much into the narratives around just people that are incarcerated, which you see on all your sitcoms or movies, etc. The most violent of the violent, cunning and corrupt, people ever. The very next, I think, connection to that is that whatever happens to them is okay, because they either brought it upon themselves or somehow they're of a character and nature that is deserving of any type of treatment anyway. And we forget, or we don't acknowledge, too often, that those people that are in community in Jamaica, we did this for back in 2020, 21, when we did our round robin of the county jails. Those are our people. Those are our community too, right? Those are human. You forget their humanity and you instantly characterize them or create a caricature to which you're okay with, their murder or their brutality or whatever happens to them. And then also, beyond just the stories they tell about us, it's the silence, the deafening silence that happens behind those walls, because those stories don't come out often. And if they do, they trickle out. We've not once captured, this is a rare moment.
Yes.
Right? Where all of that treatment, all of that behavior the veil has been removed, and we get a glimpse, a short glimpse of the inhumane treatment and brutality of the corrections officers at times and the people that they are charged with care and custody of. You got a shot. Tamar, you said a lot was happening in that video. You can see the apathy just sit. It wasn't no one shocked. This was routine.
Normal.
This is what happens.
Yes.
When they feel the need to do something like this, it's okay. 2 sergeants, bunch of corrections officers, medical staff.
And there was no need to communicate with the civilian staff. The civilian staff automatically knew. They were automatically on board.
That's right.
So how normal was this, right? How isolated was this?
Yeah, as many in the executive side are trying to convince of us that this is just an isolated incident. I mean, you can't unring the bell at this point. And my hope, was yesterday when I was talking to the crowd, is that we got to take advantage of this moment. So we need those petitions signed. We need people showing up, screaming loudly for the changes that are needed and pressing on those legislative officials. I'm glad we had some representation there yesterday to speak to their perspective on what they saw and what they plan to do about it, because that's also an important part of the equation. But having everybody's voices heard, to me, was just, I think, the loudest takeaway the strong, takeaway that I had from yesterday. Just all the different people that have been impacted, not just what happened to Robert Brooks, but what's actually happening to their families.
Yeah. And it's not a few bad apples. Like we've said it a whole bunch of different ways, but let's use the language that they used. We've got to root out a few bad apples. It's not a few bad apples. It's not a couple people that, oh my gosh, if we fire these 14 people, then it's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Stop playing in our face.
14 people and not one of them, there was no whistleblower amongst them.
No.
Out of 14. Now, normally, right? Normally, if you do something with 14 people, you somebody's gonna it's too many people. Not one of them, right? It was just by the grace that this camera, was turned on without them being aware of it.
Right. Because if they knew, somebody had shut it off.
And once again, we see the system taking its time and addressing, what happened in the case of someone being killed, right? Like how quickly would they have arrested the three of us if we were captured on film, beating the hell out of someone, and then they died the next day? It wouldn't be a question,
right?
About the warrant, the
right.
arrest, etc. And in this case, you see this, suspended without pay, and
the process.
There's an investigation
happening.
Giving them all due process, all time to get their lawyers, talk to their unions, do what they need to do. Now, listen, I believe in the abolition of the idea that we need prisons in the first place, and that's very true. But I'm only pointing out the double standard that we continue to see.
Right.
And it's like what I do fear a little bit of is that as there's been so many other moments, that this moment will come and then it will go. And that as an organizer here in the Capital Region, with U Jamaica and CCA being a statewide organization, it's got to be something that counts. Like it's got to be like, this life is gone. There's so many others that's gone before him. How do we, with our community, because we can't do this by ourselves, we need our community to stand up. How do we make sure that what we're doing, these actions actually count for the type of changes that are actually needed for accountability in these prisons when it comes to this type of brutality, the limiting of people even going into prisons and getting people the hell out of there as fast as possible. We need these policy changes, today. We need them now.
And we need people to show up. And there's 2 events coming up on January 20th and on February 4th. So it's not like, because people were like, oh, I was at work, I couldn't make it. All right, got you, sis. Don't worry. We got more
opportunities. Yeah. And that's something, right? Because I'm not here just to charge, because we already know what they do. I know what they do. We know what they do. I'm kind of here to charge up some of the people, right? And what I mean by especially, so you young brothers out there, man, that's doing all this nutty stuff, right? Making things hot. Y'all the ones that need to be dialed into this type of stuff. Y'all not there. I've been here, we've been doing this work in this city, in the Capital District for a while, man. You young brothers that's out there with 1 foot in and 1 foot out, or maybe both foot in, y'all better lock into this movement, man, because y'all the ones that's going in there. Y'all the ones, and I don't know if your homies is letting you know, y'all not built for that. Y'all better understand the conditions. Y'all always talking about free the bros, free the guys. That shit irks me when I hear that. It irks me when I hear that. You know why? Because y'all really not built. Y'all really not ready for this action, man. When it's time to step up, when it's time to kill somebody that look like you on deck. 24/7, you on deck. But when it's time to fight the powers that be, the ones that got your bros unlocked, the ones that's whooping your bros ass, y'all, I don't see y'all, man. Where y'all be at? I don't see y'all.
I think that mindset is born. There's intention by how that mindset is even developed. Because when you're facing what you feel like is an overwhelming force, an overwhelming power, it becomes as natural as the trees in the forest or the mountains in the land. Like, it's just here. There's nothing I can do about it. I have to navigate the environment. We're not empowered enough to understand that we can change our environments. We can change the system and the way it operates and the way we're educated. will teach you or instruct you in the ways that you don't think that change is even possible. And I think what happened for you and I, Tamar, is that we got a glimpse. We done had the experience. We done seen all the stuff was going on, but we was able to see deeper, and we began to challenge, what the system was and our place in it and what we could do about it. And we began to read the books of revolution, right? The books of change, like how does society work and how do these things even come together? And like for me personally, I can speak for myself. Like when I started, reading and getting educated and learning about our history and our people, and then to take real pride in what it took for us to even be here today, despite the most brutal regime against any people in any modern history, right? Like we were able to do these things and change, not just survive but thrive in many cases. Like that's when I begin to believe, like, wait a minute, what can I do? What's my place in this? How can I, commit to change? And that's why I do this work today. And I think getting to our brothers and just empowering them enough to understand that change is possible. Because like that beef between me, you and I, or someone on the block or someone in your immediate, that's some real superficial, you know what I'm saying? That's the top layer.
Bro,
they're not going any deeper in that.
Bro,
they're not challenging the environment that they're in.
They know, listen. So in Albany, we have in every city, damn near, there's some type of gang wars going on, right?
Of course.
I never got caught up in the uptown downtown stuff because I played sports. I was an athlete as a youth. I played sports with dudes from downtown. I was from uptown. So when that type of drama came up, I'm like, yo, my boy, I got boys that's downtown. I got boys at uptown. I never grew up in that, right? But the funniest thing when I was up north, Green Haven in particular, I used to see uptown dudes and downtown dudes from Albany, right, in the prison. And perhaps it was because you had the Brooklyn boys over here and the Bloods over here or whatever it was. But in prison, from what I seen of individuals who I were with, and y'all know who y'all was, y'all put that shit to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all put that shit to the side with no problem. Now, since then, I know that it's been kind of escalated from my days, right? Some people don't return, people getting killed from each side. My thing is this, and I get it, but right now, you have a common enemy that has the you in the crosshairs right now. You are in the crosshairs right now. Trump is coming. Y'all better pay attention to what's going on. Listen to the language, right? Mm-hmm. Trump, we have to solve the crime that's going on in the urban communities.
Yo, I know we ain't even going there. Like,
you think Trump give a fuck about the urban communities?
Come on. We know. We already know.
Right.
We already know, right? And so the challenge that we have, and I'm like, the challenge we have is that there is a narrative that tells us that we should be fighting us, and then tells us to use violence against each other and to accept violence against us. And so while we're battling narratives and fighting back against, listening to things on mainstream media and who's got beef in the streets, we have this opportunity, us, right? Me, you, Sean, Lukey, Lex, right? That we have an opportunity to come together like we did yesterday, to keep coming together in different parts of the state, in New York City, in Rochester, in Albany, in Schenectady, to have these conversations face to face, because that's one of the things that we know is missing.
Right.
We'll sit here and some folks are going to hear us, but the next opportunity that we have to be together, like face to face, and have some of those conversations, not just people talking. Right. We definitely gonna have some speakers. Like some people are going to show up and say some things that are important, but for us to talk to each other, January 20th, it's a federal holiday. Most people have the day off.
You see me, I'm already lit for that day.
Exactly. We're going to reclaim MLK. We're going to show up in Schenectady because we're breaking all of that other bullshit. All of that. I'm from Albany. I'm from Schenectady. Guess what?
Corny shit, man.
The top doesn't care. The CO don't care. Nobody asked you where you was from. Nobody ass got caught up. Period. That's it. So in Schenectady on January 20th is the next step. Then we coming
Yeah.
back to Albany on February 4th. So if we had 150 people in Albany yesterday, how are we going to get 200, 300 people in Schenectady in a couple weeks? And then how are we going to have 400 people in Albany in February? And that we keep growing, because the elected officials who say they support us only support us if we're loud enough. Let's be real.
Right.
That's right.
Change has
Right.
never happened because an elected official said so.
Right.
Change happened because elected officials were pressured to do what the people said.
Mhm.
So this is our chance. We so out of time. We went over, but this is what happens because it's important. And plus, I'll just sit here and listen to y'all brothers talk all day. But we do have to wrap it up. I want to remind people that Reclaim MLK 2025, the bit.ly is there. It's on the screen. Make sure you sign the petition, Justice for Robert Brooks. And if you have a friend, a family, a loved one who has been harmed or murdered by the state, you can add their information to that petition. If you yourself are a survivor of the carceral state, you can add that information to the petition. You also then have now locked in. You signed that petition. You took your first step and said, you know what? I'm going to be a part of change. I'm not going to sit by and bitch and complain and talk all this. Yo, that's dumb. I'm going to do something about it. Sign the petition. Take your first step into becoming a revolutionary. Take the first step into activism, to being an organizer, and then join us, because we'll help you. I got you. I got you back.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard Sean talk about I train organizers, but it's happened.
It's definitely happened. Shit, I'm one of them. Anyway, hey, look, just final words. Look, it's New Year's Eve. It's New Year's Eve. It's been a heavy year. A lot has happened. This is the last time you'll see us in 2024. Next time you see us will be 2025. We'll still be putting in that work. Like Jamaica said, January 20th. Let's get it on. But I'm extremely grateful to be here with you all. I loved everyone. Big shout out once again to Garrett Smith, Derek Hamilton, Alexis Figueroa, Lukey Ford, Tayana, everybody. Ivy Morris, I see you, Ivy. Happy New Year's to you. Have a great night tonight.
Ronnie Minter and all of the women who are currently incarcerated.
Thank you, Ronnie Minter, for sure.
Definitely.
Big
Trent,
shout out to
Angelo, Tanya, everybody.
Yeah, Tanya, everybody, man. Big shout out to everybody. And much love. I'm looking forward to doing this in the new year. Tamar, got last words?
2025, time to get live.
That's right. My guy. Short and sweet. All right, y'all. Later. We're going to see you in the next year, man. Much love. Peace. Justice for Robert.